Satanism. It is a subject that can produce a variety of reactions, from incredulous disbelief to paralyzing fear. Yet even if one were to choose not to believe in the reality of Satanism, one would at least have to acknowledge its growing entry into mainstream society. Movies like Exorcist III and Witches fill the theaters and living rooms throughout our nation. Sadistic violence floods feature films with the bodies of the dead and maimed. Music videos have turned increasingly pornographic. More than 50 major black metal rock groups preach satanic messages and even call for the worship of the Prince of Darkness. Occult images of superheroes with magical powers of sorcery fill the hearts and the minds of children in the cartoons and video games. 75 years of films, 50 years of TV, and decades of recorded music have brought Americans to an insatiable lust for sex, violence, witchcraft, perversion, and occultic mysteries. The dawn of the 21st century has brought this nation to an unbelievable and yet undeniable obsession with the macabre. In a word, our society has marched boldly and defiantly through the doorway of Satan.
This fascination with the works of darkness and the occult is seen at every level of our society. From the absolutely phenomenal success of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to Anton LaVey's first Church of Satan in San Francisco, our culture is being sucked deeper and deeper into the vortex of satanic influence and domination. Today, according to our research, multiplied thousands in the free world are involved in Satanism. A recent publication from Europe reports that there are up to 100,000 black witches, Satanists, and chaos magicians in Great Britain alone. In Germany, an estimated 10,000 people practice black magic. Law enforcement agencies across North America are inundated with criminal cases involving satanic activity. Everything from grave desecrations to child pornography and molestations, ritual abuse, animal mutilations, human sacrificial murder, cannibalism, rape, sodomy, and defacement of churches and synagogues.
Leading experts on Satanism and crime in America speculate that there is an international network of Satanists who are responsible for child pornography. Satanism is on the rise, and it's not about to go away.
Teenagers across America are playing with a new and frightening game, Satanism. Their school books are marked up with satanic symbols, upside-down crosses, pentagrams, the number 666. Their fashions glamorize the demonic. They are seduced by heavy metal heroes, many of whom feature satanic imagery in their songs and album covers. For some of these young people, the fixation on violence, evil, and death leads them to commit abominable crimes, including suicide and human sacrifice. Joseph Beeson, 18, and Edward Bennett, 19, both raised in Mormon homes, drew blood from their own veins and mutilated animals in satanic rituals. But that wasn't enough, so they eventually killed 18-year-old Michelle Moore. Sean Sellers, 17, the youngest death row inmate in Oklahoma, brutally murdered his mother and stepfather because they tried to prevent his satanic rituals. Scott Waterhouse, 17, tortured and killed a 12-year-old girl in a grisly satanic slaughter. Pete Rowland, 17, formed a satanic cult with 3 other boys. After sacrificing a cat, they turned on Steve Newberry, the 4th member of their group, and beat him to death with baseball bats while chanting, "A sacrifice for Satan." Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, was convicted of 13 murders and 30 other felonies. During the summer of 1985, he beat, strangled, raped, sodomized, shot, and slashed his victims in a rampage of sadistic satanic slayings. In the spring of '89, the dead bodies of 13 victims, one of whom was only 16 years old, were found mutilated and buried in a common grave near the American-Mexican border in Matamoros. This satanic drug-smuggling cult believed that sacrificing humans in bizarre rituals would give them magical protection. The victims had been dealt blows with a hammer, and some suffered horrible mutilations, including the removal of brains, hearts, and other organs that were then boiled in blood. For those of us who have been involved in cult and occult research over the years, these atrocious reports are unfortunately nothing new. They are only the tip of the iceberg. What used to be hidden or secret is now arrogantly brandished in public by Satanists who recruit openly and display macabre graffiti and gruesome mutilations in public places. Englishman Aleister Crowley, a leading inspiration in today's revival of Satanism, was a bisexual heroin addict and demonologist who was violently opposed to Christianity. In his book Magic, he detailed the proper procedure for performing a child sacrifice. Crowley's powerful influence is seen in such groups as the OTO, Ordo Templi Orientis, and Colonel Michael Aquino's Temple of Set, an offshoot from the Church of Satan. In 1966, Anton LaVey founded the first Church of Satan in San Francisco, which at one point claimed 10,000 members. LaVey authored the Satanic Bible and Satanic Rituals, two of Satanism's most important books. Astonishingly, when the Satanic Bible was first published, it outsold the Holy Bible 2-to-1 in many parts of America and 10-to-1 on some college campuses. It teaches tenets that are totally opposed to goodness, purity, and selfless behavior.
Shemham Parash! Shemham Parash! Hail Satan! Hail Satan!
To the Satanist, good is evil and evil is good. The truth is a lie and a lie is a truth. Sweet is bitter and bitter is sweet. And everything is twisted around the other way.
The Satanists have merely followed the pantheist way of thought to its logical conclusion. If there are no absolutes, if God doesn't exist, He hasn't set absolute limits to what we can do. So therefore, anything that the self decides it wants, the self can go after.
We believe in greed, we believe in selfishness, we believe in all of the lustful thoughts that motivate man, because this is man's natural feeling.
And therefore, Satanists take that to its extreme and say, if I want to be violent, I can be violent. If I want to hurt others to gain my way, then I can hurt others to gain my way.
There are generally four different groups of Satanists. We would like to classify them as the dabbler. Then you have your religious Satanist. Then you have your non-traditional Satanist. And then your generational Satanist. The dabbler we would classify as the teenager. The teenager would simply learn some things from his friends at school, dabble a little bit in the Ouija board, go down the library or the local bookstore and pick up a book, and kind of do his own thing. Not real dangerous, but he can be moved into further areas which could be criminal or dangerous in nature.
The dabblers are the people who are putting the graffiti up on walls, knocking over tombstones, and making a general nuisance of themselves in the public. They are the ones also who will do the animal sacrifices, and they're really novices. They're considered lower-level Satanists by those who are higher up into the satanic realm. The religious Satanists are protected by law. Anton LaVey's First Church of Satan in San Francisco would be an example of that. They are religious in their approach, and they try not to violate any man-made laws because it is not productive for their own self-interest.
Now, the non-traditional Satanist is a gentleman or lady or the group of people who would take certain ideologies, develop a cult, usually polarized around some central theme, oftentimes taken from a biblical aspect, and use that to commit crimes, or they may not commit any crimes, but for what we're talking about for these purposes, the non-traditional Satanist is oftentimes the most dangerous.
Now then there are generational Satanists. These are people who would have Satanism in their family, and it's passed down from generation to generation, just as the name would intimate. And these Satanists would produce all kinds of horrors secretly.
From infancy, they have learned all these things. They have been molested, forced to drink blood, eat feces, urinated upon, sodomized, and just from generation to generation, it continues.
Their main teaching is that Satan had a part in creating the world with God, and he was wrongfully thrown out of heaven when he asked for equal power along with Jehovah God, and that one day he would regain his rightful place. So we have to make his army bigger, so the more recruits there are in Satanism and the occult on the earth, the quicker his army would grow, and then he would take over and overthrow Christ and the Christian church.
Worshipping of Satan is not a crime in the United States of America. It's protected under the First Amendment. Therefore, if you see a group of people dancing around a fire, they're not committing any crime. There's nothing that the United States law enforcement can do.
It's not against the law to be a Satanist or to be a member of a witchcraft group, you know, or to be a doorknob worshiper. I don't really care what your form of religion is. I don't investigate the religion. It's the crime I investigate.
There are no statistics to prove anywhere in the United States of America or the world that this stuff is widespread. But it's my opinion that it's more widespread than you can shake a stick at.
In Britain, we are beginning to see that Satanism is widespread. From the contacts we have through social services, voluntary agencies and the police, we are beginning to monitor the situation, therefore developing a picture which is showing that we have a very serious problem.
Priests, ministers, doctors, police officers, judges, businessmen, oilmen, teenagers are all linked together for one purpose: to sacrifice whatever they want to Satan.
Yeah, it would be a whole lot easier if these people wore, you know, had horns and a pitchfork and a red suit, but they just don't. They could be your next door neighbor.